All right, guys, we are live. I'm so excited. Coffee with Brand&Athlete. We have a very special show in store for us today. Keith, man, it's so good to see you. How are you doing, Keith?
Doing good. It's been a few days. Excited to be back on with you, Jay. Love this.
Okay,
Excited
and then
about today.
and we have another exciting one. Dejon Manning. Dejon, Kent State's finest track and field athlete. Welcome to the show.
I'm excited to be here.
Yes, it's great to get the three of us together. I'm really excited. For those who are just joining us, this is what we do. We do live shows, we do traditional podcasts, and today we have Dejon on, and then we also have Keith, our resident expert in NIL, and myself, and we're gonna chop it all up tonight. Keith, are you ready?
I'm ready. I want to learn all about Dejon and I want to hear about the Kent State track and field program. Let's go.
All right, and Dejon, welcome. You're a man of many things. I found out later into this process that you're really talented, creative, as well as also being a track athlete. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Okay. Well, here's what we have in store for you today. We're gonna talk about Dejon documenting his journey as an athlete, how he can maximize his content. We're also going to talk about his distribution, right? Distribution is everything in 2024, heading into 2025. And then we have Keith here, and he's going to talk to us also about securing brand deals. And then we're going to map out 3-month, 6-month, and 12-month goals. All right, guys. Before we get started, you guys want to talk to the chat? Do you guys have anybody? Matter of fact, we need to promote it on social, so I'm gonna take a quick pick. Anybody want to say hey to the chat? You two.
I see the chat real quick. Hold on.
So I'm gonna put out a tweet and put out some content. But let's get into it. Dejon, welcome to our first show. First off, what is your biggest goal right now as an athlete and content creator?
My biggest goal right now is to put some times on the board, right now, get some big times up. And pretty much I've been doing it for 3 or 4 years now, but still put my name out there to get the NIL deals and so on and so on.
Man. So you say big times. I thought it was small times that you're going for.
Oh, yeah.
Leave it to
the small times bring out the big stuff, So.
I see what you did there, Keith.
It's all relative, track and field, What events do you run?
I run the 100, 200, 4x1, and sometimes a 4x4.
All right.
Yeah, Keith, we were joking, back when I was running, when I was in youth track, in high school, they come looking for you in the stands at the end of the meet, especially like summer track. And now it's the doomed text.
Yeah.
Hey, we need you for the 4x4.
That 4x4.
Every sprinter's nightmare.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, the next live stream should be the two of you facing off, out on the track. Let's leave it all on the track. Let's go.
It won't be much of a show. I mean, you are talking to a member of the MAC indoor champion team. So I mean, talking about someone with some. I mean, they have some really big rings.
Yeah.
So before we dive into that, Dejon, talk about that. You guys won last year. What did that feel like? I mean, because in track, which is the individual sport, to get a team championship,
it's like. Well, I was explaining last time like the Kent State indoor team hasn't won since 2009, and our coach, Coach Ober, he was on that team. That's perspective how long it's been. But just going into that meet, we all knew we was the underdogs. We wasn't supposed to win. We was going to our rival school's track, Eastern Michigan, and going on their turf, a whole different track we're not used to, like a 200-meter track, because we're used to like 300 and 400 meter tracks. So going to 200, it's just we had confidence, but it was a little doubt here and there.
Yeah, that's special, man. Historic, right, Keith?
Yeah, you bringing back. I ran track in high school, but I'm not going to claim to be as talented as you two gents. Yeah, no, and I definitely wasn't doing in any of the 100, 200s or anything like that. No distance.
I love that. You know what? It's so far in the past. It's kind of like, this is Dejon's time to shine, and because we were talking, right? Like, you are a senior right now? Is that what
Senior,
that is?
yeah.
Yeah. So he's on that last, the
I'm on
last
my
end of
last
the
lap.
last lap. Last lap. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about you, what you're doing. Before we get into the content side, let's talk a little bit about you. What is the most surprising thing that people would learn about being a student athlete that would surprise them, and what also surprised you once you've gotten here?
Well, if I'm gonna be real, the biggest surprise is we a little hit on it a little bit last time, but the biggest surprise is athletes. You got to like once you make it to the next level, which is college, from like high school to college. The biggest surprise is nothing's handed to you. It's
Right.
like things you got to work for as a student athlete, and people on the inside out watching from the outside don't see that. Because yeah, we get to schedule our classes first. Yeah, we get to we get all this gear and stuff. But honestly, you got to work for that, and that's the biggest thing that that's going into college, and the kids that you know are not doing sports need to see and understand that you got to work for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So, what was your biggest welcome to college track moment when you got to Kent State?
Oh, okay. My biggest welcome to college track was my first indoor meet. So I'm class of 2020. So we're coming off of COVID. Not even coming off of COVID. We're still in COVID.
Ooh,
Yeah. So we had the mask up, this and third. And Andre, I came in as a hurdler. I got recruited as a hurdler, but
really? Okay.
yeah, transformed into a short sprinter. So racing these like once in a lifetime talent, my boy Jaheim, my boy Asa, and a couple Akron guys. Racing them in the 60 and blew me out the water was the craziest. It was a rude awakening for sure. I was like, okay, this is next level talent every day. Like high school, you might get that at the national meet, state meet. It's not every meet you get that. But in college, this is every meet. You got to race these guys, and they like that was a big welcome.
So you transitioned from hurdles into all the other events here.
Yes.
Okay, so you don't get called on to do any hurdling anymore.
No. that day's behind me.
Wow.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go ahead and get us kicked off here on a little bit. I'm just curious, like, what's one piece of advice you'd give to other athletes, trying to break into the college ranks and trying to build a name for themselves? I mean, you've done a good job building a name for yourself, and hopefully today's conversation will be able to take you to the next level. But I'm kind of curious what else you might have to share with other student athletes.
Honest, for anybody in any sport, basketball, football, track, tennis, soccer, any sport, just be yourself,
Yeah.
honestly, because when I came in, I was a little afraid, but once I got into it, I learned. Like for me in high school, I was the trash talker. I like to, I like to rile people up. And honestly, if you like that, stay like that. Or if you're not, then stay like that too. Be yourself and do what you are comfortable with. Like don't change yourself for college. Honestly, like
Be authentic. I like that.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's great. It was so funny you're talking too, because I had one of those similar moments you're talking about. I remember we went to our first meet at Oklahoma, and in high school, even at the the elite meets, the All-Americans, the state meets,
Yeah.
you use some talent. But then when you get to college, it's like everybody from all those meets is at the one meet you're at. You're like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, this is like everybody's fast, right? And it's amazing. And then all the upperclassmen, they already know the ins and outs. So no, that
Yeah.
was I can relate to that. What's one moment on the track that you really had something that happened that made you stronger, that you went through during your time at Kent State?
On the track, it was definitely. It's hard to say that it's on the track, but it's the fact that from my freshman year all the way up to the indoor championship,
Yeah.
it's just repeatedly losing that MAC conference, losing and losing, and but that honestly brought the team together. You know, that's what made us stronger. Is that losing factor? Like if we could lose together, we showed the younger guys by the time we got to the indoor MAC championship, we showed those younger guys that okay, we're a family now. We're gonna win as a family. We lost. Now it's time for us to win.
Yeah.
And,
And what did it feel like last year? I ended up seeing, championship weekend and all the sports is when everybody across the nation hosts their indoor and outdoor championships. And, you guys got the lay on the track photos, you guys
yeah,
got to have a great time. What was that like?
man, it didn't feel real because it really just happened immediately after the last event, and I just see people high fiving each other, hugging, and it was it just didn't feel real. They brought the shirts out. Everything was just in the moment. We was doing a little dance that we just decided to do just because I never seen some of the my teammates. I never even seen smile that hard before. It was just like it was so surreal. Even my coach, I never seen him smile that hard. It was great for everybody.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
That's awesome. It's funny. You remember the losses, and I'm a huge fisherman, Dejon, and I always remember the ones I miss, and I forget about all the ones I actually did. But yeah, same thing with sports. We remember those losses; they haunt us, and
Right.
yeah, yeah, it's
Especially when
motivation.
you're so close to winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Keith, do you want to just? I'm really curious about Dejon, just how he's balancing everything, right? Like, Keith has the great fortune of traveling the countries. That I mean, every time we are scheduling something, I'm trying to figure out which campus he's on. And Keith, you deal directly and have for a long time, in your other lives. And I'm curious to hear about how he's balanced all that, and then how you compare that to what you've been hearing.
Yeah,
Man, balancing. I guess that should have been one of the things I should have give out advice to the upcoming athletes because balancing is the hardest thing, especially with NIL getting your content done, track, sports, and school. All of it is just nothing will be the same each day. Like Monday, you probably had a set schedule for Monday. That's going
Right.
to switch around. Go into Tuesday, think it's going to be like Monday. That's the wrong thinking because it's going to switch around. And especially with a track, and we have to be flexible with our track
Yeah.
schedules. And with track, it's so important that you practice with your event group or people close to your time because then that's how you get better. So now you got to find a way to get class in, get homework, and set up a time where you and your practice group could practice all together with adding in NIL. Because the
yeah.
hardest thing is to finish a hard workout and then remember you got to shoot a video right after that. That is the hardest thing.
He forgot about class and that whole studying
No,
thing.
Hey, look, I was
that
gonna
class
say
is
where I said, man, I wonder if Keith's gonna say so.
Yeah,
that class. That class comes first. That's the thing that never changes. You know, that's what you got to go through every day. But the minutes of the other stuff like practice and everything is what gets switched around.
Yeah, balancing is the toughest thing. Hey, at this point in life, when you're balancing being an athlete, being a student, doing NIL stuff, I mean,
Yeah.
this is great practice for the rest of life. You know, you could be like me, traveling, having to balance, your family life and all that kind of fun stuff. And Jay's right. Every morning when I wake up, I'm like, wait, which city am I in here? Which campus am I on?
He's like the politician, like when they stop and they go, "Welcome," and they put their hand up. What city am I in? Chicago. That's Keith.
I will readily admit that has happened to me where I'm like, wait a second. Okay, I got to double check this. But yeah, no, balancing is huge though. Scheduling your time out, having a calendar, being organized about it, that's half the battle. Executing. I mean, that's part of executing. You got to balance it out. You got to be scheduled and got to be regimented. I mean, this is great practice for the rest of life because you're going to be successful. You manage this, you're able to manage a lot of other things in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you hit it on the head, Keith. And after this, I'd love to hear your number one tip because you talked so many. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the biggest thing when I was a student athlete is just learning how to balance everything. How do I manage my calendar? How to write everything down. It was paper back then. Google, I don't even know if Google Calendar was a thing when I was in school, but do you remember you get like those at Christmas time, man, like when you got those planners, man. And this is back when planners were like 60, 80, 100, 200. Remember this, Keith?
Oh, yeah.
Franklin Coveys and all these other system planners, which are basically now you have, walking around with you every day.
Hey, not to put an age on us, Jay, but if somebody had said Google when we were growing up, what was that, a new kind of noodle?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm still a paper guy. I still write stuff down on paper. The phone's great until it's out of power or something happens, But I always got to have a backup.
What's been the hack that you'd share, Dejon, from your time, or things that you've learned? Obviously, as a senior now, you're like the veteran on the yard. You're like the OG.
Honestly, tools. My biggest tool is the people. This the biggest thing.
Hey, can you repeat that? It
Cut out.
Yeah, he glitched out on us. What did you say?
The biggest thing is people, because if you got people that will keep you on track, and like you said, the phone's gonna die, and then you're not gonna know when your homework. Like, say your phone dies at a certain time, and it was supposed to be alarm for when your homework is supposed to be due, or when you're supposed to leave for class. Now you missed that, but I use my friends around me. I take the initiative to go use counselors, uh, learning specialists, keep me all on track because if you got those people around you that'll help you, then you'll be successful for sure.
Yeah,
definitely. I think that's solid. And I think as we get into talking about content creation, I think, just having a great calendar. I don't think there's so many great tools, but I love Google, and I'm not paid by Google and not associated with them, but most people it's free. And there's other people that have something similar, but they have a really good system. And I think everybody knows that. I'm a big, big fan because I think a lot of people, for most people, having the visualization to see your calendar and to be able to have it with you anywhere in the cloud is so huge. And as we move and talk about content creation, Keith, we have to talk about our partners at Influxer. I mean, they do and allow us to have this conversation because, one of the things as we sat down, Dejon, and so happy to have you here with us, is when we sat down to do this show, I looked out and I saw a lot of people telling athletes, build your brand, and which is great strategy. And I thought the athletes were more like, how? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because it's great to keep telling people, but there at some point we have to get tactical. And so I think one of the things, and Keith can talk more about their capabilities because it's so huge, as you were saying, to have a great team and have the right tools around you.
Yeah, and that is one of the things I like about Influxer and, some of the folks there, just some of the resources, some of the tools. And that's what I like about Brand&Athlete is we're bringing tools, we're bringing resources to folks, really at no cost to the student athletes. All you got to do is listen, utilize the tools. And Dejon's already got it figured out. He's using the resources at his university, using the learning specialists, the academic counselors and stuff like that. That's basic, and not everybody takes advantage of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And kudos to you for taking advantage of those resources. Take advantage of Brand&Athlete. Sign up for our newsletter, get some tips. Take advantage of something like Influxer. There's good resources everywhere you look right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm gonna shout some out really specifically. Influx, of course, has the marketplace. They also have the merch deals. The other thing, I'm gonna give a low key hack and shout out to Kendra from Influxer. You guys can do one-on-one coachings, right? And the reason I talk about this, I follow the advice that I give myself. I follow Influxer, and I'm telling you, guys, having someone that's available to you, and there are also a lot of people. If it were myself, I would also go follow the people who work at Influxer and develop relationships with them directly, right? We're going to get into it tonight. The DM game, my DM game is high level. I'm trying to tell you, my mid game is, I know we have a track person on, but my mid game is strong in high school, right? And this is the mid game. Like, these are the shots you got to knock down. Because you have one of the things I was thinking about this, Keith, preparing for the show. And when I was in high school, I was really lucky that I had a sense of timing and kind of where I was in history. And I ended up having a really good career. But part of it was I knew my runway time. Like, I knew I had to hit it. So I didn't waste time. And, I ended up coming out, one of the, an all-time great time that I ran in high school, but it's because I knew, and I was very intentional. And so one of the things that I knew, for example, is, but with my personal times, I couldn't go to every party. I couldn't go to every link up. And, I something I haven't even shared with Keith, like, I never went to one of my high school dances at my school. My school went to a school and they hosted them on Friday nights, and the meets were always on Saturday. So like districts and conferences, it was the night before. So I never went to my own. And I share this with you guys, is like, sometimes you have to lock in. Like, Keith and I can talk about these things. This guy has more knowledge than most people will forget. He's worked with some of the biggest names. I don't want to name drop RG3. I don't want to talk about national championships. I don't want to talk about back to back conference champions that he worked with, because he's not going to tell you that. So this is where I'm going to get off of my soapbox, but these are the things, guys, these are the soft parts of this game that you guys, because you're in it right now. You're in the moment. You're on somebody's roster. Some people will answer your DMs. So sorry, I get so passionate about this, Keith, because stuff's changed my life.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping it real with people.
I love it. I love it. And I mean, I think, I'm curious to hear, like, Dejon, like, how's your DM game? Like, how talk to me about, like, how you're reaching out to companies and putting yourself out there. That's what I want to hear about.
Yeah.
Like, everything Jay just talked about, his now, according to Jay, his DM game is strong.
It's Dame time all the time.
Mine is weak. I
don't believe this dude. This dude's Rolodex, I'm gonna brag on him. His Rolodex, his relationships, and his business, guys. And it's just the reason why, I keep telling people this is it's not just showing up. You got to develop relationships. You got to spend the time. If you have this phone and on Sundays, you get that little dreaded update and you've been on 13 hours a day and you didn't spend 30 minutes texting, DMing, that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, Keith knows a lot of people in this business. People are answering his phone calls. I mean, he's not just sitting in that chair because of his good looks, even though he's a good-looking guy. You know what I mean? He's a good-looking guy. You know what I mean?
Oh, my God.
But that's not why he's in that chair.
Oh, my gosh. Well, spread some knowledge here, Dejon. Like, talk to us about, like, how you DM and how you approach things.
I was actually just talking to one of my teammates about this, because first I was trying to get him to sign up for Inflexer, by the way. So so I was explaining to him about that, and then he asked me like, because he saw me do like C4 energy drinks, all these little hydro drink,
Mhm.
uh, all those other stuff, and he asked me how do I get them, and I'm like, honestly, the way I explain it is like you just gotta shoot your shot sometimes. And it's not like it's not like they're gonna say no or something. The worst you could get is no response. So if you just keep shooting your shot at these deals, if you see something on Instagram, that'd be good. Like I just got a clothing NIL deal because I seen their thing on Instagram and I just happened to DM them. It was like, hey, and honestly, I told them to be yourself. Just talk how you talk. Don't try to make things proper if you don't talk that way, or just be yourself. So just ask them if they looking for somebody to show off their brand, be an ambassador, stuff like that. And if they answer, then you got to win. You made your shot. But if they don't, the worst thing they're going to do is just not answer.
So
So
if they respond to you, like, what are you telling them about yourself? Like,
that's why I told them just it's not. I told them it's not cocky about talking about yourself, but just talk about your times, talk about what type of person you are, talk about everything that you're willing to do, like where you came from, stuff like that. So like that's like it's not like I'm trying to think of a word. It's not cocky, but getting yourself out there, talk about yourself.
yeah,
I love that, and I'm gonna piggyback on. I think you're doing great. I call it my $2 a day game. Right, I'm gonna give away my game, and one of the things I try to do is send 5 DMs every day. So, student athletes, take out your phone, take notes. What you should be sending 5 DMs a day to brands that you already use. And I would just keep it simple and short. And just, if you're using a recovery product, if you're using,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter if they're a big brand, just shoot your shot into their DMs. But I would hyperly focus on your local brands, the places where you're eating and the
Local,
products you're
yeah,
already using. Got to give a little bit of a shout out. I was talking to Kennedy Webb, who we had on this same program, and she just got a deal reaching out to a brand, Keith. She literally reached out to him, what you're talking about. But I would do it 5 a day. You got to get your shots up. You got to get your reps because we know everyone's not going to answer.
yeah,
Right. But the pizza place that you're going to, the place you're getting the salads and things that you're already doing, and even your big brands, I think you should be doing those 5 every day. And if you could just put it aside about 25 to 30 minutes, that's what I do every single day, Keith, to get the shots up.
yeah, I completely agree. And I'll tell you one thing I've learned just traveling the country, visiting a lot of schools and doing a lot of education, meeting with the student athletes all over. One of the biggest mistakes I do see student athletes make is just sitting back and kind of waiting for brands to come
waiting
to
for
them.
yeah,
You know, while you're sitting there waiting, there's another 100 student athletes they're asserting themselves. They're getting out there. They're getting after it. They're showing that hunger, that willingness to go out there and earn and to help a company out. That's what the companies want.
Yeah.
every
Keith, I would love to hear what percentage, like when you're reaching out, Dejon, are those, what's your mixture of, and keep it real with this because everybody can learn. It's like any sport, right? We can all get better. What percentage would you say are local, and what percentage are like big brands?
I'll have to say I can't really put a percentage on it, but I know more of the percentage is going to the bigger brands. I like to go big or go home. The local, I had a couple like um one of my boys put me on to the local ones. Shout out to Q, but he put me on a crumble cookie. He got me.
Mm.
He told me about that. It's right on campus. Well, downtown campus. Did that. Called hit them up a couple of times. Got that. CVS. That was a local one. So so those are like the really miss like a good 40%. The other 60% is the big brands. I try to go for the big ones, and I don't know if they're really that big, but it's like the clothing brands, all the other stuff that's not here. I
Right.
go for. Yeah, I try to go for.
Yeah. No,
Like
that's
Fire. Oh, sorry.
I like it. I like
Like
it.
Firefly, I contacted them 3 times before they answered me. I finally got
Yeah,
it.
shout out to you. I've seen their content on your page and your deals, so shout out
Yeah.
to you on that. I love that. Keith, what would you recommend to student athletes? Like, because one of the things I wonder sometimes with student athletes, do they think, man, I don't have a big enough following? But if you have 3,000 followers and you're on the campus, you're going to class every day, and you have all these people following you in your sphere, I think there might be some impact.
Yeah, and I think companies do like student athletes of all shapes and sizes when it comes to follower contents and stuff like that. I think if you feel like you don't have enough followers to really pursue this, I tell you to think again about that, because the followers you do have, they're following you for a reason. And if it is 3,000 followers, if it's 1,000 followers,
Right.
you probably know all those people directly. And that's very organic. So like anything you're saying, folks are hopefully and actually listening to. And I think there is some recognition for that. If you do have a big follower count, I think that's great too, because but I think there is something organic about having a small follower count, and there's a lot of companies out there that enjoy that middle ground right there.
Yeah. And a lot of people say they love as Keith was talking about, the micro influencer, because Keith hit it on the head. They're engaged. They're people that know you. A lot of times with some of the things that's really changed with social media and the TikTokification of platforms is, back in the day, somebody who had 4 million subscribers or followers, they had a bigger opportunity. But today, most people only have anywhere from 10 to 30%, depending on who they are, of people they can actually engage with. So if you have 1 million, you can't push content at all 1 million of those people see, and only a small percentage. So here is the great thing that Keith hit on, is that today any post can go viral, right? Because on TikTok, literally your first post could go 4,000 views, 50,000 views, 30,000 views. We've seen it. And today, you, the individual micro influencer, have the same opportunity for a piece to go far as the person with 4 million views. So I think Keith's spot on here. He's always talking about this, guys, about being consistent and telling your story. And the reason why I say that all the time is that he's with Influxer and the work that he's doing. They're working with big brands every day, mid-sized and small brands. So Keith, did I miss anything? I want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
No, I think you're hitting it right on the head here. And the micro influencers, I forgot that phrase, but I think that's a great way to do it. I mean, we are seeing a lot of companies that are looking for micro influencers, and that's their strategy. So
yeah,
I think if you're a student athlete right now and you're kind of negating yourself and saying, I can't make it, don't count yourself out.
Dang, that's great, Keith. Man, his dude is always dropping some knowledge. All right, now we kind of got a little bit turned around, but I think, Keith, let's talk a little bit about his process. So, but before we do, I want to make sure we put a bow on this. Is, guys, you should be spending 30 minutes a day. Say, well, where do I get it from? Well, if you're laying on the couch and you're watching the Lakers game, or you're watching Kai Cenat streaming and you're all this other stuff, that's when I'm getting my reps up. That's when I'm taking my little time and in between meetings. You're on the bus on a trip. And, these are the times, like, just think, how can I get 15 to 20 minutes in? So you guys do that. You're going to watch it elevate. But we have to talk about your content, right? One of the biggest missed opportunities is athletes not documenting their journey. You have this huge opportunity, every practice, every meet, every drill, all the things you're doing in your own time. Because we all know that every elite athlete has to get in extra reps. Dejon, what's holding you back from posting more content more consistently, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it's really, like I said in the beginning, some hard work out. It's just that you got to have that thought in your mind to always have your phone on you, or your camera, whatever you're using to document. It's just hard to remember that if you're going through like 400 repeats or 300 plus 200 repeats, stuff like that. It's hard to remember to document that. But just like, oh, if you're doing something fun, like if you're doing like, I know for a track, if you're doing block work, then that's when people, okay, let's take the phone out, have a good time. Media day. Like I posted it to the Influxer page for Kent State, but I recorded the whole media day for Kent State track and field because that was fun. I mean, I could remember to pull my phone out, everybody having a good time. It was just the frequent days, which most of the days are hard workouts. It's harder. I just want to go home. I don't got time to pull my phone out. I don't want to see nothing. I just want to go home.
Hey, how are you guys working them over there, Keith?
Yeah, you notice though, as he explains all this, he's smiling and laughing. So he's liking it. He's enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know.
And shout out to you for a little backstory there, which I didn't know about until I think Keith told me. I believe is that you reached out, right? And you're an intern with Influxer, which I didn't know until Keith told me. Keith, this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. This guy has always got the knowledge, but you're doing that. So shout out to you for taking that initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. We're lucky to have talented student athletes like him. I mean, that's what makes it. And
this is unscripted, but so on every campus, right? And this is me generally asking Keith because I'm not in the weeds. On every campus or many campuses, right? You guys have an opportunity. This is another thing. We talk about these massive opportunities because I don't want you guys to go 2 years after you're done. You're 3 years out of being an athlete, and you're like, man, I wish I would have applied for an internship. I wish I would have reached out to the NCAA. I wish I would have reached out to Influxer. What's the opportunity? Tell people about it because I think people are sleeping, Keith. I know it's 8:36 Central Time, but we need to wake people up.
You know, that's one of the things I'm proud about is, we created this internship program. So we do have an intern at every school that we're at. And so Influxer, we are licensed at 460 universities right now. 460. And so our goal is to hire an intern at every one of those schools that we're at. And, finding good interns, getting applications from folks that want to get that on the resume, get that creative experience on their portfolio, get some of this exposure. We're constantly always looking for good interns. And there's a number of schools where we're still trying to find, good interns. So hopefully we got some student athletes from some of those schools. I would say apply. And you never know. There's a lot of growing companies. You never know when somebody sees a resume and they're like, okay, maybe not for this position, but maybe for that next position. And we found ourselves in that situation many, many times where we're like, man, and I think that goes for everything in the professional life. We find somebody, we're like, man, we really liked him or her, and not for this position, but I got something else in mind, and they just kind of hang out in the back of your mind. And so one thing I'd tell student athletes, if you are looking for that experience, and it is a paid internship, so you do get paid, so it's not volunteer and free. So some do better than others, but it is a fun thing, I think.
Massive opportunity, right, Keith? I mean, I really wish as a content creator I would have had the opportunity to have a paid internship. You couldn't even have jobs back when I was running, and to be able, and then now again back to relationships. You're developing. There's people who can vouch for you, who can say, as Keith said, hey, we don't have something for you, but Keith's got a buddy or a young woman he knows at another company who's looking for someone, and they've reached out to Keith and say, Keith, do you know anybody that you'd recommend?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a small knit community, and I'll say this: like Dejon is got this awesome opportunity on his hands. He's got this on his resume, and it's a job right now to go off to companies. Once they graduate, and be a social media manager for a company or something like that. He's now got this on his resume. He's creating content. He's managing things. Man, experience. There's just no replacement for experience sometimes, and that's incredible. At the end of the day, if we help a lot of student athletes land that job because of the experience, that's pretty amazing.
Got a question. I got to go to the first of all. That's another dime. If Keith, if they didn't already have a podcast called $1 Million Worth of Game, Keith should be called that. This dude's a walk-in hack. Got to go to the chat. We have Angela asked. Shout out to Angela for the question. Thank you for pulling up on Dejon. What's the best thing about NIL deals? Let's start with Dejon, and then Keith, do you want to answer it afterwards from your perspective?
Sure.
The best thing about NIL deals is honestly, I'm not gonna lie here, is the free stuff. Sometimes you get that free stuff, and it's the best. Like the big one, I had like 12 cans, but it was like in 3 packages of C4 energy drinks. I had Clio bars. I had again the apparel that I get from these NIL deals, but it's also when they if when you post your content, they also repost it, or whatever app you get it from, like 98 Strong or those other big NIL apps. Post game, that's another one. When they post it, now other people are seeing it, other deals are seeing it. It's just like bouncing off of each other, and people are following you, and it's like a chain reaction pretty much of every NIL deal you do.
That I love that response. From my perspective, Jay, I love that. I love that look that I see on a student athlete's face. They start realizing their self-worth, and they start seeing themselves in that professional context and seeing the value they can bring. That level of satisfaction, just seeing it on somebody's face, hearing they knowing they got a deal, and all right, let's go. This is different than school. This is different than performing on the field. This is something in a professional context where they can drive some value and do something really cool. And I don't know if you can put a monetary, a price tag on that feeling that I see on people's faces.
Man, that's awesome. I mean, so Keith, you hit on some great things. This new opportunity, it's available to be a content creator, to monetize it, to connect with all these people, and this huge experience. Dejon, I think you're also spot on the products. I mean, it is great, right? Like you're able to work with some great brands. And then the other thing that a lot of people don't talk about, Dejon, that you hit on is the new audience opportunity, new follower growth. Because when brands are retweeting, and we do it with this opportunity, we're retweeting you, we're sharing your content, it's putting you out there in front of new people. And one of the great things, guys, that Dejon just uncovered for you guys is being a collaborator with someone, and you guys doing content creator is going to introduce you to an audience you didn't have available to you before this. So when Keith shares this in his stories, everybody Keith follows and all the people he's met over his 20 plus year career are going to see it in their stories. And they're going to say, oh my God, who is this Dejon? Right. And so that's the massive opportunity. So I love that. I love that. Great question, Angela. Thanks for pulling up on. All right. So I'm going to give some things, and then Keith, you give yours, because Keith, again, has done this and is doing this. On the content. I think content is everything. It's where you're at. I would just say simplify. I'm really big on thinking through, and this is something, Keith, that we're gonna ask Dejon to answer after I answer, and then everybody on the stream, guys. First of all, pull up, ask your questions in the chat, and then ask yourself this at home or wherever you are. Could you commit to sharing one workout or one clip from a workout? Can you do one behind the scenes moment from, let's say you guys have a team meal, right? A lot of you guys have already left campus. Some of you guys have a Christmas party, a holiday party, whatever you guys want to call it for you guys. Can you have one moment from the behind the scenes? And can you have one meet experience a week, right? Like how many people like on their feeds and you just went to Louisville to an indoor meet. You went to some of the big things, and everything doesn't have to be a reel. Can we take photos? Can we make sure that we're resharing from whoever's hosting the meet into your stories. Like, one of the things that I'm really big on is just being active. And so my question for you is, answering those questions, can you commit to those kind of smaller things, one workout, one clip, behind the scenes, or comedy? Is that something you think is doable right now?
It's 100% doable, especially like if you're, I don't know about everybody else's team like mine. So when we get like 200s going or 60s going and it gets competitive, somebody's always recording, or you want somebody recording, to get that little evidence, see who won.
100%.
You gotta get somebody record. So like I said, from my personal experience, we have over probably 100 videos of back behind the scene practices or races going on between one another. We
Dude's
got so
just
many of those.
Kobe from the elbow right there for you guys. I'm just trying to tell you, because I could tell you, Keith could tell you till the cows come home. You just hit it. Dejon, and I'm gonna unpack this in 2 seconds, Keith. Everybody's got a built-in camera crew, your teammates.
Yeah, and I'm personally, I like the behind the scenes, like team meal or hanging out in the apartment and y'all are goofing or something, and it's good natured, it's clean, but you get to see the personalities. You kind of overcome some of the obstacles that maybe the general public has when it comes to NIL. It's not always handout saying gimme, gimme, gimme. These are real people. They got a sense of humor. They're cooking their own meals. They got to walk to practice when it's cold, and go to class when it's raining or snowing, depending on where you're at, if there's snow. But I like seeing that kind of stuff. That personality.
Keith just hit another one. Great thing. Like, for example, I know we've talked outside of this, Dejon, and you go to breakfast, is it right, with some of the same people every morning? Is that?
Yeah, we got really
Just take a picture. Take a picture. Hey man, thankful for this community I have. We eat breakfast every morning. Picture, tag, boom, move on. Distribute. Right?
Yeah.
Like, one of the things I want as we move into 2025, I really would love for everyone to think in more simplistic terms, and just think every time you're somewhere, and Keith hit this really well, is thinking about what's one piece of content from the event or practice every single time. And you don't have to post a thing. You just have to be able to be thoughtful and intentional with your time to take that picture that Keith was talking about.
Yeah. I think it connects so well with people when they feel like they can connect with you, and you're giving them a window into what your experience is.
Yeah, that's it. So there it is, guys. So one of the things we want you guys to think about, and I've talked about this a lot, and Keith as well, is just documenting over creating Gary Vee's philosophy, which is taking the picture, document it. Meaning, like, if we're going to, hey, we're all getting together for the MMA or UFC fight, take a picture. Right? Like, it's just got to be a picture. You don't have to do a video. You don't have to be in everyone's face with a video and a key light and a ring light and those sort of things. But talk about the things. And here's the other thing that I think that will help so many, because I do this, is thinking about the massive opportunity and being appreciative of it. And a lot of this now, like, I wish I would have had a cell phone back when I was running, to document a lot of these different things that we were doing. Like, we ended up running into Maya Angelou, and this was back in the airport. She was at Wake Forest as a professor. We were coming back. Matter of fact, it was, I don't want to date myself, but it was Keith is looking at me like, hey, be careful here. But it was March Madness time. She was in it, long story short, she was in the airport. We got a photo with her, and it's something I cherish to this day. So guys, when you guys get into your 28 and your 30 and your 35 and your 40, these moments, it's not just about the content. It's documenting your life. Like, this happened, and it's a massive opportunity. So anything else before we wrap? Because I know I keep us a lot of times, Keith will tell you, dragging us down before we get into brand deals, which is Keith's bread and butter. Is there anything else we want to cover, Keith or Dejon, about documenting?
I think we've hit it pretty good. I love how he's not shy about it too, about how he's proactive.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, we got some more people. Shout out to the chat. Janae Bass just pulled up and said, and I'm gonna let both of you guys answer this. What do you think is the best way to push the idea to get your coach or school on board? I would assume here we're talking about content creation. That's a good question, Keith.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first. I mean,
okay.
Quite a few states do have laws where, like if you're in practice competition, you can't be doing the filming and stuff. So you have to either come before practice or you got to do stuff outside of practice where you got to schedule some stuff. And, that's one big holdup I do see at some schools where they are, practice is about focusing on your practice, not video content capture and stuff like that. But, getting your coach to say, hey, let's shoot some video after practice. Let us do some, reps or something like that. I think getting your coach on board where it's not interfering with, the job that you're supposed to be there to do in terms of getting your athletic skills up. I think that's good. I think working with your school to make sure that any of the brand deals that you're going to do don't interfere with any of the institution's ongoing sponsorships, because that can be a holdup too. When this all sounds negative, but it's really not. I mean, the way you approach it, the way you talk to coach, the way you talk to admin about these types of things, it lets you know you're interested, and they're going to give you some good advice too. They're going to give you some, funny content ideas, and guaranteed there's folks on those staffs that have great suggestions for you.
I think that's dope. Dejon, what are your tips there?
I think coaches are definitely for it. It's just making sure we do it the right way. Because like we have I can't think of the app.
You talking about the content capture where they do like your reps and everything, and it's on the iPad?
No, I mean this is like when we have a deal, we have to submit it to we have to make sure we like let the people know that we're doing it, like we're disclosing that we got a deal, and that's their biggest goal. Like I don't think there shouldn't be any coaches that are not for it, but it's just make sure we're doing the right way. We can't get in trouble, be liable, and all the deals really much pretty sure make sure, like say if it's, what was the last one I had, the last deal I had, make sure they tell you don't wear your school logo or you're not in a school facility, that they could be liable for stuff like that. And pretty much it's just the safety, they're more on the safety, make sure you're good, not losing eligibility.
Licensing issues as well. You have to have a license, just for those who don't know, because Dejon brings up an awesome point. You have to have a license with any brand. It doesn't matter if it's a school or whatever, to use that image. That's why you see a lot of pro athletes in generic gear without a logo. So great call out.
Yep. And that's definitely a consideration. That's why it's good to talk with folks and let them know kind of what you're up to. And many states have disclosure requirements, and institutions have disclosure requirements, and this is why it's good to get familiar with whatever the policy is. It shouldn't be adversarial, and as you talk with folks, you're gonna get great ideas. You're gonna get great advice. I mean, it's all about relationships.
Yeah. I'm going to piggyback on Johnny, her question. And Dejon, you hit it all on the head. I think it's all about coming at it from the right situation. I think that's the spot. And I always think just having fun with it and just, really thinking through who you are, what you want to be. So one of the things, if you're an appreciative person, like I was saying, I don't think that very many coaches are going to say, hey, coach, before, after practice, which is what I would do if I was an athlete, focus on outside of your practice time, focusing a lot of your individual content capture on your personal reps. So if you're going into the batting cages, if you're going in to get some extra starts, if you're going in to do different things on your own time and you're not monetized, I'm talking about non-monetized content right now, those are great. And then the other things with your staff members, just always ask people like, hey, Coach Miller, Unc, you mind if I take a picture, man? I just, we got 400s coming up. We got a 5-pack of 400s, and I survived. You mind if I take a picture and then can I tag you in it afterwards? See what I just did there? You asked people, you gave them the opportunity. Some people, I think vast majority of people will say yes, don't you think, Keith? But if they don't, you're now giving them the opportunity.
Right. It's all about approach.
Yeah. Just be nice. Yeah, go ahead, Keith. I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you
off.
No,
approach and how you manage relationships. I mean, sports is all about managing egos, managing relationships.
Yep.
When it comes down to it, that's the key to success.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna keep us moving. Keith is right on relationships and managing. Boy, he just said a mouthful there. Sorry, I was just thinking about my day-to-day work day. So that's spot on. It's $1 million worth of game. If you know, you know. All right. Here's the thing. We're gonna talk about. We'll give you a shout out as well. You guys should go follow Keith. Keith, what's your handle? Most places.
Yeah, I think it's Mr. Keith Miller. I don't know.
Mr. Keith Miller. You can find him there.
Yeah.
Say again.
And what's yours? You have we're gonna get to this. You have a couple. I'm looking at we're gonna do a little bit. If everybody wants to go pull up his TikTok right now, what's your TikTok? What's your Instagram? We're gonna really kind of be tactically looking into this. What are your handle names?
Instagram is I'm the Manning 25, and TikTok is just my name, Dejon Manning, Dejon Manning.
Okay. Shout out to you. Shout out. You guys follow Mr. Keith, and then Unc, as I call him, and follow Dejon. But I got Keith Unc. For you guys that just joined the live, drop your questions in as we're going in. Now we're really gonna get in deep here. First of all, one of the things before we jump in, first of all, I think you're doing a great job. I think the massive first opportunity I would try to do, but I wouldn't overthink it. It's just figuring out, could you have brand consistency across some of your platforms so that when people search you, it's the same thing. I do know that's difficult because there's a lot of usernames, but that's something I would do. I would probably use ChatGPT to help me, guys. See how I just did this there? Think about it, put it in. Hey, ChatGPT, this is, what my handles, what are some opportunities that I could have some brand consistency? Key thoughts there?
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. Just getting a chat, the AI, man, it gives you a lot of good ideas. It's a great sounding board.
Yeah, it's a great sounding board. I think of ChatGPT. I'm on premium, but you don't have to be. There's a voice option you can use and talk back and forth to Siri. It does use up a lot of energy, so just be careful of that. But it's really great. I use it as a sounding board. Keith is so right. Here's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna jump right into your TikTok. Love it. You've got 4,443 followers. The big thing I like is there's a lot of engagement, and this is what we were talking about earlier, guys, about why people are really work with micro influencers. You're technically not a micro at this point with 4,400 because that would be above a micro. But there's over 250,000 likes, 228,000 likes. So when I'm talking about engagement, that means people are liking, commenting, involved. And sometimes with the big influencers, you'll see how many times, Keith, and if you never noticed this, you'll see someone that's got 1 million followers or 500,000, they'll put a post out and there's like one comment.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And whereas people know, Dejon, this is the biggest thing you have about being, if you're a micro and you're just starting, is that your friends really rock with you like that. So if you notice, we posted this video where Dejon was walking through, and this is what I mean about simplifying it. Tell them about the video. How did it engage? Walk us through that. I'm gonna let you tell that part when you put it on Instagram.
When I post, well, make sure I tell my friends that I'm posting a video. Just look out for it. That's all I really said too, to just let them know. But then I pressed the collab. It popped on my post, and they just followed through with it. And more people than I thought. I didn't really tell everybody, just certain friend groups, but There's people from back at home that was commenting, reposting, tagging me in it, and it was just coming through. Like there's, like I said, more people at home, a lot of people at school, and then I coach a track and field team back at home, a high school, and there was kids that I coached. They was reposting it, tagging me, is making sure it was me first of all, and then and then engaging on it. So it was pretty cool.
And Keith, this was just him announcing, like, I'm pulling up on Unc. That this is what I keep telling you guys about not overthinking it. This was a video. Did you have a microphone?
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a microphone, no light, right? So that's
No.
what I'm saying. Like, he just whipped his camera out, shot a 30-second video. It got a ton of engagement. People were like, yes, I love this. I mean, Keith, there were so many reshares of this thing.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Don't overthink it. You never know.
You know, and that's why I want everybody to do is to think about how can I produce more, simplify. All right, so here's one of the things where we're kind of leading with this conversation. Love what you're doing. One of the things, if you look at it, I think you have a good content that on your feed and right now we're on TikTok, guys. One of the things I would think about is how can I be more consistent? And that's what I was asking you earlier. And I kind of knew where we were going because I did peek at your account, but I didn't do a deep dive. I'm doing a deep dive right now. I think one of the things you can think about is how can I be more consistent? One of the ideas I'm going to give you off the rip for you is you're a senior, you're a MAC champion. There are people, you're talking about this team that you're coaching, there's kids who would die to be in your spot, to have the gear, to have the Kent State, to be able to travel on the team. Every day, could you open up your camera and just give what your key takeaway from the practices? This is your senior year, man. Like, hey, man, every Monday we do 200s. Today, I felt like dog crap. But keep it real. I mean, really, if you did, I'm just being honest. If you did, because here's the thing, Keith, all these workouts people talk about now. Sometimes you're over there laying in the grass for 20 minutes, like trying to keep it from your breakfast from coming up, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing it
almost
right,
every
this
Wednesday.
is
If
real.
you're doing it right, it's gonna hurt.
It's gonna hurt. Like, just be authentically you, man. Just of course, you have to stay within what's acceptable. We can't get outside, and just be wilding too much. But Keith, what do you think? Like, could he document more?
Yeah, I think there is a key to being consistent. When I look at the data of like who's doing well in this NIL space, it's not that person that posts like 4 times a year that thinks they're a poet or some sort of mystical whatever, and they're posting something weird, 4 times a year, and you're like, man, I don't know what's going on with them, but if somebody's posting consistently, you feel like you know what's going on with them. You feel like you can support them, and you feel like you're part of their story. I mean, have we ever watched a TV show where we feel like the TV characters, like they're part of our family or our circle,
Yeah.
As people follow student athletes, that's how they should be thinking about you. What's going on with Dejon today? What bring him in.
Dejon, real quick, your thoughts on just we're talking about just being more consistent, and you're doing a great job. We're only talking about here about how to level up.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking, like, as I go through, I just try to keep, I think September 6th was your last one, the 3rd before that, July 19th, July 16th, April. So you see what I mean? Like Keith was saying, like, I think just simplifying, and because here's I'm literally taking this from the story you shared with us, is your journey. Like, just document, because I don't even think, we had Alyssa Utsby on. She didn't even have a mic until she had 40,000 followers.
Yeah.
I'm just keep it a buck. For everybody thinks that they have to go spend all this money, that you got to have all the perfect light and your studio's got to look like mine or Keith's. She didn't even have one. And that was only until she had big, like, I don't want to say her sponsor name, so you can go to her page. She had huge sponsors. So she felt like, okay, they're paying me so much money. But the key, guys, is doing. So, what is a piece of content? Let's just brainstorm really quickly. I gave you an idea, but I think it's your brand. What is something you could consistently put out? Because I do think Keith is spot on. You really need a piece of content every day.
True. I mean, for at least Instagram, I like to try to keep it just track. Just anything that's track related, I post it. And
Okay, what could you post every day?
That's what practice is gonna do, especially with the season. But we just finished fall training. Meets are gonna come up. I'm gonna post that every day. And we used to have our teammate Q. He used to do these like come with me to someone like Duke invite that. And now that he's gone, so I'm gonna have to. I thought I'm gonna start doing that because he's going. I know everybody wants to see it because he used to get like thousands of people watching it and viewing it on TikTok and
I love that.
Instagram.
All right, I'm gonna give you
So
another quick one. You have great teammates with you. Could you just take your camera and just interview people? Just take
yeah,
your camera. Okay, so you don't have to do
there's a
the
lot of
interview every
personality
day.
on this team too.
Yeah. So in between talking about your actual recap of your race, let's say you do it every other day, and then just come up with 5 questions. Again, open up Chat GPT. Chat GPT. Guys, write this down. I'm giving away free game here. Act as a social media manager and give me 5 questions to ask my teammates that are highly engaging, that are fun, and will make for great content on Instagram, TikTok, da da da. All right, and then take the
Yeah.
questions, and then of course, don't read them, guys. You got to look at them, figure out if you don't like it, run it again.
Yeah.
Keith, is that some game?
That's great. I love it. I
And
love
then
it.
and then we're literally just talking about, hey guys, what's your what are you listening to? What's on the top 5 songs on your playlist? Right, just walk around. And here's what I'm trying to give you, Dejon, is making sure every piece doesn't need to look like a travel video that
Yeah.
takes an hour to edit and putting it all together. Like simplify. Okay.
Do
I'm
the
gonna
small
keep them.
things.
Would say I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, do the small things. Yeah.
Do the small things, more pictures. Instagram, the biggest thing is if I were you, I would try to have 4 or 5 stories every day. Just stories, and again, because that's the most consumed piece of content right now is everybody's in their stories. All right, so let's move us along because I'm usually the one dragging us down. Let's talk about the brand deals. This is really Keith's bread and butter. He's really, really good at this. Before we get into brand deals, though, just quickly run us through what your goals are, because Keith can't help you get to some of the brand deals without knowing where you want to go, because this is all based on you, not just what Keith's randomly giving everyone. So right now, you're a senior. This is your last go around. I'm gonna give you a framework I would be thinking of. I would be your own producer and say, if I had a camera following me every day, what would my content look like? And you know who's following you? You. With this. What are your 3, 6, and 12-month goals? Hit us with it.
Well, at least for starting with my 3
Yeah,
months
see, some of
ago.
you guys are sitting at home. You want to get to 40,000. You want to get to 2. Where are you going? How could you define if not you? So I'm going off on a little tangent here, but you can't get somewhere, guys. Many of you guys who are good athletes, you had a goal. You knew, hey, I need to run 10.7. I need to run 21.25 to make it to college, to get a partial scholarship, to get people to look at me. You need the same type of goals. Would you agree, Keith?
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, go lofty. It's fine, but have something ahead of you.
Yep. And I think your 3 months should be very realistic and practical that you can execute on. And then you're, like Keith said, Keith is so spot on. Your big goals should be lofty. So what is your 3-month goal? Let's just think really quickly. What do you want to do? What's one thing that you want to nail in 3 months?
The biggest thing for me right now, especially being a senior, is in 3 months, I got to put some time. Like I said in the beginning, I got to put these times down. I got to be better than I was last year. You know what I mean?
What about on content?
On content, it's definitely being organized. Doing more while being organized. You know what I mean?
What does that look like when you say that? What is that practical? Like, what's something that's measurable?
Like with being an influencer intern and getting all these NIL, I want to have more NIL deals while doing, you know what I mean? Because when I got the internship, I kind of slowed down on the NIL because it was like too much for school and all that. So in 3 months, I want to be better at, being able to do my own stuff while doing the intern, being better at that, getting content for my sport. And because I like going to when I started this internship, I like going to the basketball games, recording soccer, going to all these other sports. So definitely in 3 months, I've been trying during the fall to get better at it. So
Keith, what are some specific goals based on what he just said that he could realistically achieve?
Yeah, I mean, immediately that what pops to my head is like if you're going to all these other games, like on your personal channels, hey, I'm a track athlete. I'm out here checking out, men's basketball. I'm out here checking women's soccer out today. You're
Because I'm
reaching.
looking right now, Keith, and I just try to keep it 1,000. I'm not. This is a great opportunity because I'm not. This is great. Keith just gave some great advice because I don't, and I'm not digging into it because we're on this live show. I don't necessarily see that on your channels. So Keith, this is great content. Go ahead. I just want to keep it practical.
Well, I think you're reaching other audiences besides the track audience. You're reaching some of those other audiences, that are following some of those sports. And I think fans and people just in general, they like seeing student athletes support other student athletes.
Yeah.
It's unselfish. And I think if you're already out there doing that, a quick little shot here and there, you out there supporting other student athletes, perfect. I mean, it's unselfish. And every place I've worked at, I love seeing student athletes from other sports out supporting other student athletes. Y'all are living the same life, and it's great to see that. And I think the general follower on social media, they'll appreciate that.
Yep,
and if you're already doing it, might as well snap it.
Okay, I love it. So I'm gonna just to make sure you have something that's a metric. I'm really big on things that are measurable. I would say build momentum. If I had to write this goal down, I would say build momentum over the next 3 months and post on each of your platforms a minimum of 3 times per week. So that means 3 to Instagram, 3 to TikTok, 3. Are you on Twitter?
Not really, nah.
Okay. Just for me, before we get too far, I believe in really big content distribution. So if you're making a piece of content, it should go to all of your platforms contextual. If you go follow Brand&Athlete, we're on all the platforms and we distribute. We take this show, we're going to cut it up for Instagram Reels. We're going to put it on LinkedIn, contextual to it, like to the professional audience and athletes. I've actually had people reach out. We have some upcoming guests. There were people reached out and said, hey, can we pull up on you in 2025 just from Keith and I posting on LinkedIn? This is the power of what I'm talking about, guys. Just post it organically. So, okay, that's what I would do. Let's go to your 6 month. Keith, what do you think is a good 6 month goal for him? And Dejon, what do you think is a good, maybe Dejon go first.
It's a 6 month goal. I want to be able to that's why I was like trying to stray away from the posting frequently. That was going to be my 6 month goal. But now if that's my 3 months goal, I want to get from 3 probably to 4 or 5. I almost post every day. Because if I'm watching like Kai Cenat, if I'm watching Speed, they're posting every day. Like it's not. Well, Kai kind of chilled out because he had the marathon going on. But if you got those other big time streamers like Speed and all that, you got them posting every day. So I want to go straight away from the 3 to get to like at least one more 4 or 5.
Here would be my reason why I'm really big on goals is because if we wait 6 months and we're in December, that's January, February, March, April, May, June, that's NCAAs. So that means we've missed the whole window of the track season. Does that make sense? I think. Does that make sense? So that means by the time we get it down, we now no longer have the golden goose. Mine would be an engagement goal. I would try to grow your audience and work on engagement. People liking, sharing, and commenting. What do you think, Keith? Like increase it.
Yeah. I like that idea. And I mean, you're a senior right now, so this is kind of the farewell tour, isn't it not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 6 months. I mean, let's capitalize. Grab as much content out there, get that story out there now, before you don't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And
Kai has a team, by the way, just so we're clear. He has a team of producers.
People posting for it. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, 6 months. You're gonna look at that next phase of life, and what that brings to the table, So if I'm you, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, how do I use this platform to engage with people to help launch me into that next step
100%.
of life? Whether it's continuing on with a professional track career, or if it's going on to something else that you're thinking about, how do I use this to launch into that, get my name out there?
And then going back to ChatGPT, ladies and gentlemen, I would pull out ChatGPT each week and say, can you give me 5 engaging ideas of content that, and tell them who you are. I'm Dejon. I'm a track runner. I do this, I do that, what your schedule is. So, and help you create content. What kind of content are we talking about, ladies and gentlemen? We're talking about really getting tactical into the stories. For example, could you go in there and ask more questions? Just take a picture you've already got in your camera roll and say, ask people, you have a big track following. What was your toughest fall workout? You have thousands of people in your own space. Like, just ask questions, or go into Instagram, do more quizzes, more polls. If you guys just got your new merch from your shirt or from the Kent State gear, what do you guys think of my practice outfit? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Drop a note in the comments. See, like, engage, like more conversation, and that's how you get the engagement. But you have to be thinking about what would be something funny, what is something interesting that would get people, for like a Keith, to hard across and use the graph to say, hey guys, how fire are these rings from the 2023 MAC championships? And just a picture you just took with your phone. This is, and then distribute that across your platforms. Don't ignore. I don't want to get off on tangents and keep us straight. All right, so 12 months. And the other thing I would focus on, if it were me, I would try to get 1 to 2 brand partnerships in that 6 months. So we're really tactical. Think about this. So I just said we're going to post 3 times a week. That's going to lead to higher engagement. That's going to land us 1 to 2 brand deals. Thoughts? Are we stacking, Keith?
No, I like it. Yeah, I'm just hearing all this, and I like everything that you're talking about. The polls, asking questions. I love it.
Yeah, go back to your high school. Think about this, bro. You are on a farewell tour. Keith just gave it to you. Seriously, that would be my thematic. He literally just gave you. I'm serious. Like, I'm really big. Like, there's people think you have to have these ideas to win a Grammy. And it's just like the idea he gave you for the season is the thematic. Go through every meet you go to. Do you have photos? Or, hey, I was here and I opened up last year and I ran, 21.9. I'm just throwing out times. I don't know Dejon's times. Do you guys think I can beat that? Or even just tell your side of the story. I opened up here, or, hey, my freshman year, man, let me tell you about this race. See what I mean? Like, go to your creativity. You're the greatest things you have, a ChatGPT in your brain. So, all right, last thing, 12-month goals. What is your brand? I think you need to have a larger brand goal that, again, we're building in this content, that we're building out for the partnerships. What is a good 12-month goal for Dejon, Keith? I have some ideas, but you also have awesome ideas.
I think take them through this farewell tour, and then take them to that next point in life, and talk people through that transition, and hey, this is what it's like going from being a college grad to doing this next step. Keep taking people through that life cycle, and brand deals don't stop once you graduate. I mean, there's plenty of influencers out there that are not student athletes. They don't stop. So I think if you're successful, you build it up, take them through that transition. You never know. You never know what you can do.
What are your specific things, Dejon? You think based on what Keith's saying? I think the farewell tour or the senior year tour is a great thematic.
I was gonna go off of that. It's gonna be like the this next season is gonna be the farewell tour, and then at the end of the farewell tour, I start a new one, like the new journey, because that's what it is next. Is if that's going pro, then that's it, or if that's going into my career
Yeah,
and life on after that, then that's where it goes. But
Yep.
that's what was the end of the tour is the beginning of a new journey. So
that's it. And I think Keith gave you the thematic, and I would share. I would just be ruthlessly leaning into being authentic. What
mhm.
do I specifically mean? I would share the highs, the lows, the emotions that you have. Like I think about my senior year, I can literally still remember my last race. Like I ran so funny. My team, I got out, it was one of my best races, and my team was like, "Man, I thought you were gonna fall out," but like I knew this was it, man. So I put all the chips on the line. I went out, and everybody who's run, Keith, you ran, man, that when you go out hard, as Coach Hart, my old coach, used to say, he'd have his race strategy, but at the last 80 is just he used to call a lot of praying.
Well, I already told you I ran distance, and I was the guy in the grass, losing it. That was me. That was me after Coach put me in the 2 mile, and all right, I guess this is happening.
Yeah. And I would tell that story. I would tell it. And I think one of the things, Dejon, if I had to give one piece of advice to you, is don't care what anyone else thinks. Your content is for the people who consume it. Don't care about what your friends think, your family members think, because nobody knows your journey better than you. Nobody can tell your story. So what I mean by that is a lot of people don't want to share that, a lot of people want to share the highs, but they don't want to share the lows, like bad workouts, issues that you've had in the past. And the other thing that you can do to be a resource, one of the things, every time I create a piece of content, even this show, everything that Keith and I are doing, we're thinking, how can we add immense value? So the value you have is to understand, like, what are the learnings I have that somebody on the other side of this phone could receive that would help them out. So what does that mean? Maybe in college you learn to make sure you get your sleep better. Maybe, like, what are all the
Big
different
part.
like I would put together a list. I'm a little different. I would probably put together a list of ideas and you'd be surprised. And I would not overcomplicate it. Or what do you think about this, Keith?
Yeah, no, I think you're dead on. Yeah, everything Jay just said was perfect. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with the thing.
Because the reason why I say this, guys, is a lot of people don't think about what the user gets into it. And I think that's why we're having success. Like this show literally is to help you. And by helping you, we help all the people that are tapping into this. We're going to chop up some of these things that you're saying, that Keith's saying. Like Keith gave away. I'm his biggest cheerleader because I think he's just fabulous. I've literally worked side by side with this guy, and he's as good as, I think he's the best in the business, just my personal opinion. And so he's giving you knowledge. And the reason why I say that, there's a lot of people out there who talk a lot of the talk, but I'm telling you, this guy has the resume, and the value that we give is we're documenting it. So, right, like right now, you can go on Kobe. I did this literally with my son when he was in high school, and he wanted to be a good runner. I mean, a good basketball player. And he didn't want to run. Well, instead of telling him that, we just queued up the workouts for Kobe, because he literally sat down on podcasts and said, I did hundreds, right? I did 110s, I did 400s in the summertime. So for you, what value do you have that you could share with other people, and think about what's in it for them? And most people are very, this is a hot take, most people are very selfish, and this includes brands and individuals, and they only focus on what I get out of it. I get more followers, I get a brand deal, I. What do they get out of it? So thoughts on that before we wrap, Dejon, because I know we hit you with a lot, but what do you think about kind of these goals we've put together? We're going to check back with you in the 3 months. So there's a little accountability I forgot to tell you about. What do you think on all the things that we've covered in this just little part right here about the goals?
It's kind of crazy. Like it's just like how things come together, because I actually had, like I said, I coached a high school team when I could go home as much as I can, and they always asking me like, what do you do this? What do you do this? Or like they asking me questions about college. I ain't got no answer because I don't remember. Like, so I always thought back in my head, maybe I recorded for them, and I do sometimes. Like I record my blocks now, and I send it to the high school kids to show them like, all right, this is what you gotta do. This is what my coach is teaching me. Maybe you entwine it with what you got going on. So this is yeah. I gotta take it into account because now I can really help them if they're
Yeah.
watching or not. Because I know they probably seen that it's going live. If they're watching or not, I can help them when I go back, which I'm pretty sure I'm going back in like a week or so. But yeah, so that
Keith,
my contact is gonna help them. But yeah,
Yeah, I like where your head's at in terms of like helping out some of that next generation.
yep. And I think you do that, and then you'll see your engagement go up. You'll see your follower count go up. So I think the last thing, I think that 12-month goal is really just to have a bigger brand and more partnerships. I think that's your
yeah.
12-month goal that we went through. So there we have it. Here are the goals, right? So guys, and hopefully you're writing. You don't have to write this down, but everyone at home, we're talking about doing 3 pieces a day, 3 pieces a week of content, right? Behind the scenes, workout content, meet documenting, and then also sharing content that you just shared of the technical things. Like, bro, you're a world-class sprinter. So there's kids out there who need to know. And I would not overcomplicate any of these things. I would just go film, do. Second thing we talked about is sending 5 DMs to brands every single day. So as you guys are spending 13 hours, which is what the average person, I know this is a marketer, your average person your age, it spends 13 hours on their phone. But they'll tell me they don't have time, They don't have time, they tell me. Well, spend half your time thinking, how can I take this trend and make it for track? How can I make it for me? And then the other thing that we talked about is cross posting your content. I'm trying to tell you, Dejon, if you just take what you're doing and you put it on TikTok and Instagram, and then we also go to YouTube Shorts and we go to Twitter and Facebook, that same piece of content, you've leveled up. Because if your brand, Keith will tell you, one of the things I'm just so shocked about, and we're gonna do a show on this. Keith already knows this because I'm kind of hot on it right now. Is so many people are so reliant on TikTok and Instagram. Well, if TikTok goes away in January, and even if it doesn't, you've only got okay. Well, I've got 20,000 views. Well, if you go look at someone like myself and Keith, we might have 100,000 off that same content because we distribute it 5 places instead of 2. So those are things, and we have our goals. Our goals for 3 months are to build the 3 times per week. The 6 month are to increase engagement, grow audience, and lock in 1 to 2 brand partnerships. The year goal is to build, as Keith and you outlined, this farewell tour, this senior year. Think about like Kobe's last. That's your deal. Like Mamba out. That's you, my guy. That's your year. But you have to come up with it for yourself. So I'm gonna let Keith kind of wrap us up. I know we have to thank some people. And also too, I just love him rapping it because I feel he's so good at just the big picture of helping student athletes. And I'm gonna tell you guys this: if you're on this call and you're not sliding into his DMs, and we just talked about doing 5 a day. He just told you we have internships over in Influxer. He told you in this call, if you were listening, they're looking for people. I'd be in his DMs, and I mean that in the most appropriate way, sir.
Yeah, here's my parting words, and I like how you phrase this, Jay. We're gonna hold him accountable, and I would invite the audience to follow him.
Yeah,
and help keep him accountable. Let's keep him accountable, folks. Let's watch this farewell tour. Let's see how this goes. Let's get involved. Let's watch how this develops. Let's see where it goes from here. And I would invite folks to be a part of that. That's what I'd like to see. I'm excited to see where this goes from here. I'm excited to see what he posts next.
So Dejon, before because
ideas brewing up.
What's your take? Like, give us. Keith just kind of gave his overview. What's yours? You just went through this deal where you had literally one of the top executives in the NIL space. I mean, Influxer is one of the top. He said almost 500 schools. A guy who literally helped put that together, the framework of the organization, along with the team. You have myself sitting here with you, built a lot of brands. What's your experience that you take away from our conversation today that you can actually execute on from this conversation?
Well, first, I would like to say thank you for the intern. Like the Inflex internship is great. So for everybody that's watching that is part of those schools that don't have an intern yet, sign up. Bro. This is the best thing you could do. But the biggest takeaway I could really take is I never really thought about how much like it's my generation. Like social media is a big thing, but like just off of this, bringing this all together, this podcast, this live stream, how much engagement I got. People asking me, like, when did you do that? Like, how did you even get that? Like people, like it just opened my eyes so much. And then posting the things that got posted today, like the little graphic of me saying we're going live today. It was just it's just crazy. It's like I watched the inflection videos. I know you be going to so many schools. I know you go to so many schools. So again, thank you, and it's just a big eye opener for real.
Awesome.
So as we wrap, I want you to also because I'm gonna give you a little bit of time to think for a couple seconds. I want you to give a motivational speech at the end. Like, what is your message to everyone out there? Because there's a lot of people, like I said, that would want to be in your position. There's some changes coming up that there might not be as many track opportunities coming down the road. Just keeping it a buck with everybody. There's some changes coming up. But before we get to that, what is it that you want to accomplish? Because one of the things I've learned about this game is I think content creation is based on what goals you have and what you will commit to doing. Like Keith and I can give you all the greatest ideas. What is it that you want to just tactically hold on to as you leave out of here about creating content and building your brand and monetizing it?
My biggest goal is to take it as far as I can. I want to be able, whatever happens in the future, like my future family, whatever, or my future self, I could tell myself like I did the best I can. I took it as far as I could. If that means getting it to so many followers and engagements, then that's got it. Or getting it to like the big time influencers, then that's what I get it to. But I just want to be able to say like I didn't leave nothing on the table. You know what I mean? Like I didn't just be lazy and not do what I possibly could do.
I was thinking the whole time he said that, Jay, he's going to leave it all on the track, you know.
Let's go. I tried my best not to scream at this, but I was so hyped when you said that. I agree with you.
I missed the opportunity.
I think we should end up inspired by, everybody knows I love Kais and I love just live streaming. We're just doing what we're doing, just three people jumping on, just chalking it up. And I want to go around and let's start with Keith. Keith, and we'll end with you, Dejon. Like, what if you had to get a motivational speech right now? And I know you do this all the time, but on this platform, based on a conversation and all the knowledge you have, what motivational speech would you give to student athletes and content creators out there?
Don't assume. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes, folks can make is don't assume everybody knows everything that's going on, everything that it takes to be in the position that you are. I think that's the biggest mistake that folks can make. Don't assume, and you are special. I mean, there's a lot of things that you're doing, everything from scrambling your eggs in the morning to the ingredients you're putting in to how you're going to provide nutrition to yourself, to get out to practice, to go to class, to go to rehab, to all those different things that you got to do. Don't assume everybody knows everything that you're going through. And I think what we saw in this conversation today was, Dejon has all this potential, and he's assuming everybody already knows about all this stuff. And I think now he's kind of seeing, oh yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I see consistently where, don't assume, highlight your life. It's special.
I love that, Keith. I love that because I think coming from you, and I just love the perspective that you have with going on to all the campuses and working with all the brands and building a great organization, like a lot of things. And I just highlight this, guys, because Bud Keith, he's never going to brag and tell you about all the work that he's doing. But when people are giving you advice, and I think everybody knows who's done anything of any type of success, is that you always have to measure who's giving you the advice. And, you know, you look at the places Keith has been, and you look at the things that he's currently doing and all the student athletes that he's helping. I think that that's what the motivation really touches me, and to have this thing. But everything I would say, my motivational people to everyone is to say, is to build your legacy like every single day. And like, think about if someone was following you with the camera, what would your life look like? We went through the goals. You have your goals. How would you look back in 3 to 5 years and see yourself? And just document it, like Keith was saying, every DM, every post, every practice clip. The grind is temporary, but the impact that you're making can last a very long time. Some of you guys, I'm a little older than some of you guys. I'm even a little bit older than Keith. And I go back to Baylor track and field right now. And my son can, you know, we get welcome back, and you're a part of this and you're a part of that. You guys have that. And don't ever forget that. Always be humble, appreciative of the huge and immense opportunity of where you are in this time of the NCAA. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Dejon. Keith has to give us some thank yous on the end. But what's your motivation? What is the message that you want to put out to people watching?
Message I praise and preach every day is, don't sell yourself short and don't give up. Like, everybody got to start somewhere, and there's going to be barriers and things going to be in your way. But if it's content creating that's what you want to do, you got to start somewhere. You got to start from 0 followers all the way to 1 million or whatever. And if it's the sport, things are going to get in your way. Things are going to get hard. Just don't give up, and you got to do what you got to do to get to your success.
We all start at 0 followers, don't we? We all start.
I love that, man. I love that so much, man. Before Keith takes us out of here, we hope if you're on here that you hit subscribe. And one of the things about subscribing, it shows the platforms, you know, YouTube specifically, that we're doing something that you like. It also allows you to stay up with us, because like anything else in life, if you want to be good, you have to consistently focus on it. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Dejon for coming on and sharing your story, the rawness, the realness, where you want to go, your hopes, dreams, and aspirations. Shout out to Keith, because I think that's the person that brought us all together. So I just want to thank the two of you guys for this opportunity to share your story, build your platform, Dejon, and then also help other student athletes.
We gotta thank the folks at Influxer here for sponsoring the show and helping us along the way here. Just amazing support from the Influxer folks, and yeah, that just amazing. Yes, please sign up, hit that follow button. We got a lot of exciting guests. Hang with us. We got some cool stuff in store.
I love it. And you know what? We're gonna let Dejon play. You know what, Keith? You know, he wants to be, he is a content creator. He doesn't want, he is. We're gonna let him take us to the house to close out the show. Keith, are you okay with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Go ahead, Dejon.
Wait, I don't.
Just close it up for us. Just kind of recap the show really quickly in like 10 seconds or so. Okay, thank everybody for coming through. Give your final words and take it to the house.
So again, my name is Dejon Manning. Thank you. Thank you for Influxer sponsoring the show. If anybody's watching, remember, keep your brand yourself, keep your engagement up, and remember, don't give up. Do what you gotta do with content. Show you're special in your way, and show the world that.
Love it.
Love it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for following.
Yeah.
All right, so I just hit end. Man, that was